Your experience of money in your childhood directly influences your financial situation now. We all have vastly different experiences of money in our early years. For some, there's lots of stress and anxiety around money. There never seems to be enough. It can cause arguments between family members and parents. For other people, there might be plenty of money for shiny new gadgets and toys and updating to the latest thing over and over and over. But the conversation around money might be that it's hard to come by and there's always sacrifices to be made in order to have those things, to have money. No matter what your childhood looked like, there was probably something going on in the background about money that has formed the way that you experience money in your adult life. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for supporting my channel. As always, I love and appreciate every single one of you and your support. Thank you so much. If you're new here, hi, my name's Kayla. I am your average Aussie mum of two, living in the top end, discussing all things personal finance, money mindset, and budgeting. I share my own personal finance journey in hopes that it lifts the taboo from conversations around money and helps empower women to take control of their finances. Our generation of women haven't been taught about money, and so my hope is that by empowering fellow women, fellow mums, that then the conversations are happening at home with their own children, and we kind of get out of this cycle of money being really taboo, being really secret, not being talked about, and there being a lack of financial literacy, to be honest with you. If you're a mum, or even if you're not a mum, if you are a woman of any kind and you are interested in starting to look at your finances, starting to learn about how to manage money, all those good things, I highly recommend you check out my free Chaos to Control Budget Blueprint. This is a very well-rounded resource about looking at your budget, maintaining your budget, making some revisions, and also changing up your mindset about money, which, let's be real, is the foundation for everything else. I'm really excited to share this video with you. This is the first in my money mindset theme of videos, and so I would really appreciate any and all feedback about whether this hits for you, whether it's relatable, or whether you don't like this content. So many of us don't realize the impact that our childhood and our earliest experiences have on our life as adults, and that it can be one of the biggest barriers to you living the life that you love. That your childhood plays a major role in your beliefs, your identity, and your life in the present. I want to share a personal story with you, and whilst I'm sharing this story, I want you to really feel into the vibe of this story. Imagine a young mum and her toddler daughter sitting in a fairly run-down car. It's early morning, they're sitting on the highway driving to daycare in Sydney. Also, this is in like the early 1990s. The mum is stressed, trying to get her daughter to daycare on time and trying to get to work on time. The toddler's dad is an alcoholic who can barely keep a job, and any money that comes into the household through his job is pretty much spent at the local watering hole. So on this particular morning, the mum and the toddler daughter are sitting in the car, putting along on the highway in a fairly rundown car that probably needs to see the mechanic. All of a sudden, the car starts stuttering, and the mum is looking for a safe place to pull over on the shoulder of the highway. As the mum is trying to find somewhere to pull over, a truck behind her blasts the horn in frustration and also warning to get out of the way. Eventually, they do pull over onto the shoulder. The mum is in tears and the daughter is silent. The mum starts hitting the steering wheel. She's frustrated. She's got tears streaming down her face. And because this is in the early 1990s, there's no mobile phone to call for help. The mum gets out of the car, takes the toddler daughter out of the car, and is walking along the highway on the shoulder to the nearest emergency box to call for help. As she's on the phone to the towing company, the daughter can hear her mum frustrated, maybe a little bit scared, talking to the tow truck driver about how she doesn't have any money for a tow but really needs to get her daughter to daycare and she needs to get to work. And is there any way that they can possibly help? What do you think that experience feels like? Does it feel safe? Does the daughter feel supported and nurtured? What messages does she hear about money in this situation? Does she ever want to experience this again? What does she learn about how to avoid this situation from happening again. So this experience occurred when this toddler, this child, didn't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the part of our brain that fully develops at age 25. And it is responsible for helping us process all of the information that we perceive in any given moment and rationalizing, sorting that information. I'm not going to go too heavy into the prefrontal cortex, but basically without a fully developed prefrontal cortex, this toddler is perceiving all of this information with only the knowledge and experiences that she's had so far. So it's safe to say that whilst an adult could look at this experience and rationalize that, you know, there were sounds happening and there was feelings and vibrations and movement and the truck's horn and whatever, and say, well, that's the truck's horn. But as a toddler sitting in a car seat in a car with a very frustrated, emotional parent and a loud sound coming from behind, that experience is really overwhelming, quite scary, unknown, and not feeling very safe for that toddler. She also doesn't rationalize that sometimes vehicles break down, that's completely normal and it can be fixed. It doesn't feel safe to pull over on a highway that you're usually driving along, to get out, to walk with your parent, to call someone for help. For that toddler, all of these sounds and happenings are just scary and overwhelming. Instead of seeing her mother crying and realizing that her mother is just stressed and a little bit anxious, she learns that it's not necessarily safe and there may be a threat to the bond that she has with her mother and also her existence in life. So you can see how this event can be processed by the child. Okay, so we started talking about money and money mindset, and you might think that I've gone on a completely random tangent, but the truth of the matter is I haven't. This experience, whilst not directly related to money, has formed beliefs for that child about money, about safety, about women, about relationships, a vast majority of things. But there are some lessons here that this child learned about money. In this experience, this child learned that money is difficult and scary, whether you have it or you don't have it, and that not having enough money is not safe and it is stressful. So these lessons can stand alone in kind of isolation and not build out the same picture. But when you have experiences like this throughout your childhood that all kind of form the same belief or idea, then we start to develop what we call a limiting belief. Limiting beliefs are described as generalizations, stereotypes, or ideas that you learned and began believing about yourself, about others, and about the world that you live in. And they're called limiting beliefs because these are the beliefs that kind of block us from living the life that we want. While I share with you some of the most common limiting beliefs about money, I want you to have a think about whether these resonate for you, which ones might fit your situation, your beliefs, and which ones don't pertain to you and your situation. Some of them, like I can say for a fact that I have a scarcity mindset belief. I have believed for a very long time that money is scarce, and it's something that I continue to work on, whereas others I don't believe them. I can hear one of these other beliefs and think that's not true for me. And the thing is, we all have different beliefs about money, and that's why our financial situations are so different to one another. So if you have a belief that there is never enough money, or that money doesn't grow on trees, or if you use those phrases, there's not enough, money doesn't grow on trees, you might have heard that as a child, this signifies a scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset means that there isn't enough money to go around. There just isn't enough. There's never enough. Maybe money comes into the bank account and then it leaves again. This can also show up in if somebody else has quite a lot of money, it can feel like there isn't going to be enough for you. So a scarcity mindset, people who have this mindset believe that there isn't enough money to go around, that it is a finite amount, and if that person has a lot, then it takes away from the earning potential that you have. I want to also say these are not necessarily beliefs that you are consciously aware of. A lot of them sit in our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind is in control of how we experience our day-to-day, but it's that background part of our brain that we're not consciously aware of all the time. So we're not consciously making these decisions. I don't look at someone on Instagram and see their beautiful life and consciously choose to think, oh, well, you know, they have all that money and I don't. It's a subconscious process that happens. And what we want to get into is trying to stop those thoughts when they happen and challenge the belief. It takes time to be consciously aware of what those things even are. So that's one of the most common, is a scarcity mindset. There is never enough. I get money and it flows out. Even if I get extra money, there's like a bill that needs to be paid or a debt that needs to be paid or whatever. A belief that money's really hard to come by, or it takes a lot of work to be wealthy. This is like a difficulty of acquisition. So acquisition means like to acquire. So it's hard to make money. If you have this belief, it's likely that you spend hours and hours and hours at your 9 to 5 or your business or whatever, lots and lots and lots of time and effort, and you're getting very little back for that effort. And again, this is relative. So for you, this might mean, you know, $2,000 a month, which is not a lot, or it might be $10,000 a month, which is not a lot. There's no definitive amount for like how much is not enough. It's all subjective. It's person to person. But what this means is you might work really, really, really hard for a small, what you perceive to be a smaller amount. Believing that I'm just no good with money, or it's too complicated to understand finances, is like a lack of confidence and also capacity, like knowledge. This can also be linked to a fixed mindset. So fixed first growth mindset. If we have a growth mindset, we can learn and we can, you know, learn new skills and we can grow and we can become more wealthy and whatever. Versus a fixed mindset is like, I just am the way I am and I was born with these skills and I can't learn any extra skills. So these kind of go hand in hand. The inability to learn how to manage your finances, or feeling like you're just no good with money. You might hear people say, I'm just no good at numbers, like I'm not a math person. That's all kind of in the same vein, and it is one that we want to challenge, because learning how to be good with money is just a skill. There's no one who's like born who just knows money, right? Like there's no baby around who's like, if you spend $1 here, you'll save for 50 cents here, right? Like that doesn't happen. At some point, everyone has learnt the skill, and you can absolutely learn it as an adult. This next one, alongside the money doesn't grow on trees, this is probably one of the other sayings that I've heard a lot in my upbringing and also just in society in general, and that is that money is the root of all evil, or that rich people are just bad and greedy. And this is a kind of a moral and a worth issue. So this signifies some beliefs about your own self-worth and the worth of others. Maybe worthiness is tied to finances. And if you have a low self-worth, which I have struggled with for a very long time, and that's connected to money, then it is hard to bring in money because you don't feel worthy of it. This can also show up as resentment or judgment of others, especially wealthy people. You might see someone on TV, in a movie, on social media who's very wealthy, and automatically have this like resentful, judgmental reaction to that. Oh, well, of course they have that. Ew, they must be, you know, so greedy. I notice this especially when I see wealthy women on social media, and particularly wealthy women in business. That really triggers my self-worth, because it's something that I really want. I want to be really wealthy from a successful business. And so it brings up a lot of those triggers to do with my own self-worth. It always is to do with self and never about the other person. But when we judge somebody else because of the money that they have, the wealth they've created, then we can feel really shameful, because deep down it is something that we want. We just haven't got there. We haven't got there yet, or we're not sure how to get there. So then the kind of consequence of that is feeling really shameful and guilty about it, which also doesn't help. We want to get out of the shame and out of the guilt. Okay, so those are a few. There are many limiting beliefs around money. I've kind of grouped the couple that go together and are probably the most common, or the most common that I've seen. And I want to share with you how these can show up in your day-to-day, because you might listen to those and go, oh, well, I don't say those things, or I don't believe those things. So essentially we have our limiting beliefs, which are formed in our childhood from our experiences, from how we perceive what happens to us, the conversations we hear, the people we're around. And those limiting beliefs sit in our subconscious mind. Those limiting beliefs then inform the behaviors, our actions every day, day to day. We behave in a certain way that aligns with our limiting beliefs. Okay, so that's like the connection. So this next step that I'm going to walk you through is how these things might show up in your day-to-day, these actions. Sometimes it can be easier for us to recognize the actions that are happening instead of like the cause of it. So we can recognize the actions and then think, where does this come from? Like, what belief is informing this action, which is how we can change them. So I mentioned that I have experienced a scarcity mindset, and sometimes I still do. This isn't completely transformed for me yet. Sometimes I experience this and it's something that I continue to work on. But how this can show up in my day-to-day is when I'm avoiding looking at my bank account, it's because I am in scarcity. I am feeling like there's not enough. Like if I check that account and it's a lower balance than I presume there's not enough to pay my bills and my expenses, and that feels really anxiety provoking for me. I might also have thoughts about that we don't have enough money. So I have many examples of this. My partner does not have a scarcity. Well, he kind of has a scarcity mindset. My partner is all about offering up suggestions of things to do with the family that are fun and, usually quite expensive. And so he'll say, oh, we should take the kids here. And immediately my thought will be, oh, that costs money. That is a scarcity mindset because it's this feeling of not having enough. If we spend money on that, there won't be enough for X. It also has looked like staying awake at night, feeling really stressed, playing over and over and over in my head the income that we have coming in, when it's coming in, and what expenses we have to pay for with that income. And usually it feels quite anxiety producing. Even if there is going to be enough, I will just calculate this money's coming in and then we've got to pay for this and this and this, and then once I feel okay, I'm like, oh, but I forgot about this bill or this, extra or whatever, or my partner wanted to go here for dinner or whatever. It also is the thought that even when we get paid extra money, there's something else to pay for. So we have our normal monthly budget, and then just say my partner is getting a bonus, or I had a refund or whatever. Then it's not like extra money, because then there's like this expense that has to be paid for that I didn't budget for. So these are all examples of what a scarcity mindset can look like in the day-to-day. I wonder if any of these feel true for you. Let me know in the comments below if you experience any or all of these. No shame, no judgment, because I've been there too. I mentioned earlier that one of the limiting beliefs, one of the most common limiting beliefs around money can be that someone's worth is determined by their wealth. That wealthy people are bad or evil. Money is the root of all evil. So in this instance, we think of people like Hitler, who was wealthy and also evil. If you have negative feelings towards wealthy people, it is a clear sign that this is one of your limiting beliefs. And the number one way that you're going to recognize this in your day-to-day, everyone's on social media these days, so it's quite easy to see this in action. If you're scrolling through your socials and you see someone buying a brand new car, it might be a G-Wagon, or someone's going on a really luxurious holiday and staying in a 5-star resort, or someone's moving into a new house that's absolutely gorgeous. If you feel like resentment, or it's not fair, or any of those, I say negative emotions, I don't really believe that there are negative emotions, but those kinds of emotions in response to that person having that thing, that wealth, that is a clear sign that you are experiencing this limiting belief that your worth is determined by your wealth, or that your wealth determines your worth, whichever way you want to look at it. So when we actually heal and reprogram that belief, what ends up happening is when you see people experiencing brand new cars and luxury holidays and beautiful houses, we actually respond in if it's possible for them, it's possible for me, in a kind of neutrality. Like, just because they have it doesn't mean I can't. So that's one of the ways that you'll see this particular belief play out in your day-to-day experience. Hopefully this sheds some light on how our experience with money runs so much deeper than just budgeting and personal finance. It's all determined by our early experiences, the beliefs we form, and then the actions we end up taking because we have those beliefs. There are tangible steps that need to be followed in order to have a healthy budget and to maintain a budget, but the money mindset part is so huge, and I feel like one of the missing pieces in the conversation around budget. It's something that I really hope to continue talking about, continue sharing about, and hopefully see other people start talking about this as well. As we know, I am a lover of emojis, so I would love for you to comment below and share with me what your money story is. Let me know below if any of these limiting beliefs are true for you, or if you want me to go into more detail about other limiting beliefs around money, and how to reprogram these. If you're still not really sure what limiting beliefs you might have around money, or what these can look like, or maybe if there's more that you might have around your money, in your money mindset, I highly recommend checking out my Chaos to Control Budget Blueprint. It is absolutely free, and it does walk through some of these limiting beliefs and has a really cute limiting belief quiz that you can take to find out your dominant limiting belief around money. You can grab that by following the link in the description box below. The really good news about money mindset and limiting beliefs is that they are not fixed, and they absolutely can be changed. And this is one of the things it's an integral step in moving towards living the life that you want to live with the budget that you want to live with. I really hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments below. I love and appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.